Ben 10 is a show that many of us grew up watching. We wanted to be a kid gaining powers to transform into alien beings far more powerful than us in order to be a hero like those we looked up to. With a catchy theme song, stellar animation, good writing, and a main character that is most of the time easy to root for, it's beloved by most and holds a special place in a lot of hearts, as does the studio behind it, Man of Action. Not mine though. In fact, Omniverse is the only series I actually watched, and even then it was random episodes and rarely ever. So join me as we find out the answer to, did Ben 10 start out well? Well, the episode begins with ship combat as a battle cruiser tries to blow a smaller green shuttle out of the sky. The bigger ship is piloted by Space Davy Jones, as he is looking for something called the Omnitrix that the smaller ship supposedly has. Tentaclebeard says,
"The Omnitrix shall be mine, and there is not a being in the galaxy that dares stand in my way."
Foreshadowing that there will be a being far different than him that stands in his way. The scene immediately shifts to a boy throwing a paper airplane at his teacher, with the shifting of characters hinting that the boy in front of us is that very being. Now it's time for the theme song, confirming the boy will have powers of transformation into aliens due to a watch that he finds, and that the boy, who's no ordinary kid, his name is Ben 10. We then switch to Ben relatably watching the clock, waiting for the last day of school to end as the teacher yammers on about her teaching summer school like anyone would willingly put themselves through it. He gets up and is excited to leave immediately whenever the bell rings, but due to his stunt with the airplane earlier, he has to talk it out with his teacher instead. One of those "the bell doesn't dismiss you, I do" moments where we learn Ben's full first name, Benjamin. When he finally gets outside, he sees a kid being bullied. If the kid hands over his money, he won't get beat up, an apparent change from the usual. Ben steps in to try and help, where we learn his full last name is Tennyson, as he picks a fight and loses, getting the kid beat up alongside him, even though this time he had a way out. This does a good job portraying that sometimes it's best to pick your battles, a lesson all heroes have to learn at some point or the other, since,
remember, with great power comes great responsibility.
At this point in time, Ben doesn't have that power, and because of that, him interfering in the way he did caused far more harm than good. It also sets the precedent that Ben isn't guaranteed a victory just because he's morally in the right, as well as shows him having a genuinely kind heart and the drive to help others. More things for a hero to have. The boy then says,
"Next time you want to play hero, make sure you can back it up." Which
is a good thing for Ben to hear before he has powers. He now knows what it's like to be powerless, and that good intentions don't always equate to good outcomes. A man then shows up in an RV, Ben's grandpa, here to pick him up for a camping trip. Ben gets in excited then,
"What is she doing here?"
Gwen, Ben's cousin, explains that Grandpa convinced her mom that camping would be a good experience for her and that it wasn't her choice. Her and Ben have a bit of hostility, possibly foreshadowing a future reason on why, or a future situation or even partnership where they learn to get over petty differences and be there for one another. As the RV pulls away, I notice that it spells Shazam, which is a cute little Easter egg that I would have missed if I wasn't paying attention. Ben and Gwen continue bickering, Gwen having a vacation planned out with a color-coded schedule, ensuring she doesn't repeat an action 2 days in a row. This shows she's responsible and intelligent, the antithesis of how Ben is portrayed, cemented by their bickering since they go together like fire and water.
Something tells me it's gonna be a long summer.
Oh, Grandpa, you have no idea. We then cut to
chow time.
Dang it, Grandpa, I wanted to say that. Here he's proposing marinated mealworms for dinner, which Gwen and Ben both don't have a taste for, with the two of them talking about how they have food from home, but not enough to last them summer. This moment represents kids fairly well, fighting 1 minute, fine the next, and shows that the two's bickering doesn't equate to disdain for one another. Cutting back to the ship combat, we see the small ship take some damage, retaliating by blowing through the command center before getting blown to bits, causing it to fire off what could be an escape pod towards the Earth. Given the size, however, as well as the fact that Ben needs to get his watch as the theme song suggests, it's most likely the Omnitrix that was brought up by Squidbilly earlier. It's probably going to land on or near the trio of campers stairs and somehow end up on the arm of Ben. I guess we'll see. Seeing the kids on electronics, Grandpa tries to get them away from the screens and focused on getting along as a family. The two turn down roasting marshmallows and telling stories, insulting each other as Ben then decides to go off on his own, seemingly setting up him being alone when the pod drops, and that's how he gets to watch. As he walks, he says that this will be the worst vacation ever, and that he should have gone to summer school, making what seemed to be a throwaway line from the teacher into something more important by representing how continuity will work within the series by teasing that everything can be important. He then sees what he thinks is a shooting star, as it changes trajectory and barrels toward him, crashing into the ground in front of him. The trajectory change has me curious of if he was meant to get it, if it chose him like a Green Lantern ring, or if something else like alien DNA drawn it towards him. It gives you enough room to question it yourself, keeping you engaged in a background mystery by laying the foundation without spelling it out. Ben then, using the intelligence he's shown so far, walks to the very edge of the crater left by the orb, so the loose rock breaks, sending him closer to it than before, pushing his curiosity closer and making it less likely for him to go for help. This is further demonstrated whenever the orb opens up and the watch's shine covers his face. Like a moth to a flame, he gets close enough for the watch to apply itself to his arm, with that horrifying experience sending him running and calling out for Grandpa as any child would. Speaking of Grandpa, he's worried about Ben being gone too long, but his worry just leaves room for another jab from Gwen.
Unless he wound up barefoot. Yeah, I can dream, can't I?
Ben is working to try and pry the watch off, but when that doesn't work, he decides to start hitting buttons, causing the center of the watch to raise. It reveals a blank human-like form. Pushing the centerpiece in causes Ben to transform into a man made of flames and what appears to be molten lava. It's safe to assume he can transform into whatever is shown within the center of the watch, and that there must be a way to change what the figure is as well, leaving a lot of questions open for the future, like how many figures can he transform into, how many more races can be added to the list, etc. After panicking a bit about being on fire, Ben collects himself and makes a pretty good pun.
I'm totally hot.
He then starts testing his power, throwing fireballs and starting a forest fire, trying to stomp it out, but it's already too late. Grandpa and Gwen see the fire, rightfully assume that it was caused by Ben, before grabbing fire extinguishers and heading into the blaze. Gwen comes across Ben, hits him with a good whack, and sprays him with the extinguisher. Ben catches her shoe on fire and calls her a freak, causing her to realize who he is. Grandpa runs over and asks Ben what happened, but has to take care of the fire first, so he says,
Backfire. Start a new fire and let it burn into the old fire. They'll snuff each other out.
This actually is a real way to fight fire with fire, starting a controlled blaze to eat up all the fuel that the fire needed to burn. I'm not sure if it works exactly like this, as I'm not a firefighter, but it was some quick thinking from Grandpa nonetheless.
Using a drip torch, a canister filled with diesel that drops fire onto the ground, Batha methodically left a line of fire in his wake. After making sure it doesn't get too high or burn too hot, the team of volunteers joins in, some burning new lines, leading the fire down the hill from where it started, and others assigned to watch and rake dry debris away from larger trees.
We then get to see two aftermaths, the aftermath of the fire as the forest ranger pulls up, and the aftermath of the battle in space with Oswald barely holding on to life in a tank surrounded by tubes. He gets notified that the Omnitrix wasn't on board the enemy ship and that it was fired onto Earth, causing him to send someone down to retrieve it. Ben explains the situation to Grandpa, to which he says,
He's not a monster. He's an alien.
Which is pretty sussy-wussy, not gonna lie. I'm thinking Grandpa knows more than he lets on, and that Ben getting this watch may be less of an accident than it seems. A giant robot lands onto Earth, destroying the shell that the watch arrived in, and releasing two drones to scout ahead as Ben is playing with his watch back at camp, even though Grandpa strictly told him not to. Ben says,
Look, if I can figure this thing out, maybe I can help people. I mean, really help them. Not just, make things worse.
Showing that his heart is in the right place, and during the situation with the bullies earlier, he learned that in his current state he can only hope to help instead of actually being able to. With this watch though, that all changes, and since he is a good person at heart, it feels far more like he's earned that power during the years he was powerless than him just stumbling into that power out of random chance. He says,
It freaked me out at first. It was like I was me, but it was also like I was somebody else.
leaving whether it's just a body transformation or if there's a little bit of the alien's consciousness in there up to your imagination, leaving the specificity up to question for us to find out in the future. Figuring out how to change aliens, he transforms into a eyeless beast that has the heightened senses of awareness through hearing since it isn't able to see directly, demonstrated by dodging a hit from Gwen when she tries to get him from behind. Ben goes swinging through the woods, getting surprise attacked by a drone, dodging its shots and getting around it to surprise it himself. After taking one out, he gets surprised by the second, as Gwen comes out of nowhere and saves his life, showing again that although they bicker, she cares about him, willing to put herself in danger in order to get him out of it. Back at the RV, Ben gets scolded by Grandpa, telling him that he knew he'd be popular with that watch on his arm, and that's why he wanted him to stay at the RV where he knew where he'd be. Ben explains how his watch works so far, with Grandpa saying he'll help Ben learn how to use it before a call comes in on the radio of campers under attack. Ben accepting responsibility for the attack since he knows the attacker is after the watch, he heads to the location and transform into a diamond-esque alien. Grandpa and Gwen lead the evacuation as Ben draws attention away from the campers just in time to save the ranger from earlier. The ranger risks his life to help someone out. Looks like this episode has a lot of heroes. Ben gets beat down, tossed around, and shot at, but he reacts just in time to save Gwen, who froze up as the tree fell towards her. They do care about each other. Ben then blocks the lasers, causing them to be reflected everywhere, and him realize he can use that to his advantage. Fighting fire with fire as he learned from Grandpa earlier, he redirects the laser back at the bot, cutting it down and winning the fight. He even made his feet into cleats to get a better hold on the ground, which was quick thinking on his part since the first time he blocked it, the power sent him flying backwards. This fight demonstrates decently choreographed action while showing that Ben's not as dumb as he lets on, and his quick thinking could let him adapt during battle, changing between the aliens he needs depending on the circumstances in the future. Koro Sensei and his ship are both being repaired, with him promising the death of Ben, as our trio of heroes are packing up, with Ben using a new alien with a lot of speed to easily put the items into the RV before declaring that this will be the best summer ever. The episode ends with the bullies getting punishment, a callback to the line,
Next time you want to play hero, make sure you can back it up.
with Ben now having the power to be the hero he wanted to be. So did Ben 10 start out well? I believe it did. It took a troubled boy with a big heart, put him through a trial to test his resolve, and gave him the power to overcome trials due to the heart that he demonstrated. He earned his power by wanting to be a hero while powerless, and due to quick thinking during battle, proved that it isn't wasted on him. His grandpa as well as Gwen are both given characterization as well, with Gwen being the good responsible one but willing to do something seemingly dumb like attack a robot if it meant saving someone she cared about, with her willingness to help others being a trait that both her and Ben share. Grandpa, however, was made out to be a little sketchy, obviously caring for the kids but hiding something from them. He was brave, quick to run into danger just like his grandkids, but due to his age and experience we don't yet know about, he was far more equipped to do it. The three of them balance each other out nicely and are a great counter to the last character, Squidbilly himself, Davy Jones. He isn't yet named, but his willingness to destroy anyone that gets in his way, and his ability to survive a direct hit from a laser, while also demanding power, even in a severely injured state, leave him a good villain to have questions about. I want to see more of him than just a few one-off scenes, and that alone would keep me around for the next episode. With an exciting premise, a lot of potential with the aliens we haven't seen in action, and a mystery behind the truth of the incident and Grandpa's involvement in it, with characters worth sticking around to find out more about, I believe it had a good start, but if you disagree, feel free to hit the dislike button and let me know why in the comments below. If I sound a little off, my throat is extremely sore, but if you want to see what's next, then subscribe, and for more news, reviews, and whatever we choose, stay tuned to Nerdsfeed. Have a great day.